Hi everybody, welcome back to the Save the Kales kitchen. We're going to get started on our dish of a lemon pepper tempeh on a bed of wilted garlic spinach and some mashed rutabaga. So we're going to get started with the rutabaga because that's going to take the longest to cook. So if you're unfamiliar, this is what a rutabaga looks like. It actually looks very similar to a turnip. It's a root vegetable, and you can do a lot of things with it like with any root vegetable. So we're going to mash it. Instead of using a mashed potatoes in this dish, we're going to use mashed rutabaga instead. We'll just cut those ends off. And these have kind of a waxy outside, so you just want to make sure you get that off too. Okay, so now just cube this up and just chop it into some medium-sized chunks. And you can, if you want to, just boil this in water like you would boil potatoes and mash them that way. But I'm actually going to roast them because I think it brings out a better flavor. At this point, you can boil it in salted water until it becomes soft, or drizzle it with a little olive oil and put it in a dish with some salt and pepper and roast it at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. It's going to get very soft and even turn kind of a nice caramelized color and get very sweet. It tastes kind of like a cross between a sweet potato and a turnip, if that makes any sense, but it's a really great flavor. And then at that point, just put it in your food processor and mash it. And it only takes a second, and you get this nice foundation that we're going to build the rest of our dish on. So now that we have the rutabaga finished, let's get started on the lemon pepper tempeh. So take a block of tempeh like this, and remember, tempeh is a fermented soy food. It's more of a whole food than something like tofu, and has a really good texture. So we're going to start just by cubing it up. Okay, we can set that aside for a minute while we get the dressing together. We're going to start with 1 tablespoon of olive oil and the zest and juice of 1 lemon. Remember, this is lemon pepper. So the zest of the lemon, which you should do first because it's a lot harder to do once the lemon's been cut in half. That zest really brings out a lot of lemon flavor, so make sure you get that. Okay, so now that we have all that lemon zest in the bowl, we can go ahead and cut the lemon and get the juice out of there. This is just a teaspoon of Bragg's aminos, or a tamari sauce would work, and that's just to give it a little bit more of a backbone flavor since this stuff is kind of bland on its own. And to sweeten it up, 1 tablespoon of agave. You can use a sweetener of your choice, but agave is pretty neutral flavored. So we'll add our tempeh to that, and once it's in there, we're going to add fresh cracked black pepper. And just add a lot. If you're used to adding pepper to dishes, remember that the black pepper in this case is supposed to be a standout ingredient, so use much more than you normally use when you just season your dinner any other day. Now you'll see that the dressing is actually very thin, but that's a good thing. Whoops, put that guy back in there. What we're going to do is take this over to the stove and let it get really hot and then turn the heat down and put a lid on it. And the lid is actually going to steam the tempeh because tempeh, since it's a fermented food, tastes kind of bitter, but once it steams in, it's going to open up, it's going to get really porous and take all of that dressing that we just made into it, and it's going to brown up really nicely as well. So just put that in a pan and make sure you have that lid ready, and let's get this over on the stove. All right, the tempeh is done, so we're just going to put that back in the bowl and set it aside for a moment. Set that down, and now use that same pan for our next dish. We're going to use some wilted spinach. We want to use the flavors that are still in that pan, and frankly, we have less to clean up if we use the same one. So we're going to add some spinach to the pan and really use whatever you have, whatever will fit, because remember, this wilts down quite a bit. And this is how I do it. So I go over to the sink and get a couple drops of water on my hands and just shake them out over the spinach, and then add a little bit of a garlic powder And that way you don't have to saute in olive oil. So we're going to cover this up and take this to the stove and watch it just for a few minutes while it wilts down, and then we'll be all set. All right, there we go. The spinach did wilt down quite a bit, as you can see, so use as much as you have. And now we have all the components for our lemon pepper tempeh ready, and we're just going to plate these up and get ready to eat. All right, let's get everything plated. We have our mashed roasted rutabaga for the bottom. And we'll put that down. I'm just gonna put all this on one big platter, and then if you're serving this to other people, you can just kind of grab some big spoonfuls and everybody can share and add some to their own plates. Okay, so we have that. Then let's get that wilted spinach. When you plate things, it always makes a nicer presentation if you try to build up. So instead of flattening everything out, try and make it really tall. And then that might make our tempeh tumble down the side a little bit, but that's okay. There we go. And now that tempeh on top. There we go. Yum, that looks really good. Okay, you can add some lemon zest on top if you'd like to give it a little burst of color and a little more flavor. All right, and the dish is all set. And there you have it, a lemon pepper tempeh with wilted spinach and mashed rutabaga. Enjoy!